Okay, so yet again I've got slight audio issues on this episode, guys. It's a little bit of background noise. I should have that fixed for next time. I didn't have time to go back and redo the episode. It's been a while since I brought out a video as well, so we're going to have to stick with it. It gets better, a little bit better as the video goes on, so hopefully you can bear it. Enjoy the episode, and I'll see you next time. Well, welcome back everybody to Motorsport Manager, the GT Challenger Series. 16th and 17th last time out was not what we wanted, but you know, its progress is slow with this car. We had a great start to the season, but we've still got a lot of work to do. 3 races left to try and hold on to the 8th place was our target. I feel like 7th place should be achievable as well if we get some okay results between now and the end of the season. So I'm going to say 7th is going to be my new goal. May as well be a little ambitious with this, hey? Yeah? Come on. It's not all doom and gloom. Our car is still the worst car on the grid after almost 2 seasons, but you know, let's keep it going. So we're scouting some drivers. Good tip given was that we should maybe look for some unemployed drivers as well. Which are these guys here. So obviously we don't know really anything about them, apart from our 2 old drivers there, who still don't have a job, poor guys. But we're going to add them to the list, some youngsters, and just see if we can find a good reserve driver that we can train up. And they should, as I've been told, not cost too much money if we can get an unemployed guy. Because they don't have a job, you know, any wage is going to be good for them, isn't it? So, let's continue on with the car. We're losing a huge amount of money. We've got a race bonus slot coming up. It's going to be 2 races before a big fixed payment. We're just going to be losing money now, really. There's not much I can do. I can't put anything else on the cart. We for sure don't have the money for that. So we will just continue to improve what we've already got. Performance, I think we're maxed out of everything now in performance. So it's just bringing those reliabilities up. So we'll go for that other brake. Engine and gearbox we could do, getting a little bit more on. I think I'll probably switch this suspension to the stock part, the spoiler. It's only 80%, it's 80% still, but we still may as well improve that up a bit. And just get the reliability as high as possible for the end of the season, and then we can push as hard as we can. It was also mentioned that we should just build some legal parts for the end of the season, so that, because the base car for next season is based off your best parts. I don't know if we're going to have the money for that though. We'll see what happens at the end of the year, and if we're going to have time once we get up. I don't know if we get our prize money before. I think we get it quite a bit before the off season, so we may well be able to build a couple of parts at the end. Right, we've got a scouting report back from Bruno Cabral. Would be one of the weakest drivers within the GT Challenger Series. Let's have a look at him, shall we? Very low marketability. He's already a reserve driver elsewhere, and there's not much there that makes me think he's worth taking on. He's not a paid driver either, so he'll be off the list. We'll see once the others come back. So who were the others we did look at? So, where's his name? William Evans, 41,000 per race, hasn't got much improvability, a little bit of marketability, not a paid driver either, so he's pretty useless. The other one was Matilda Pilotto, 33% marketability, pretty expensive. She's a main driver already, so no, none of those are really useful. We'll wait for a few more reports to come back and see if there's any more potential prospects. But really, we've got to concentrate on getting this car up from 10th. I mean, if we can finish 7th or 8th with the worst car on the grid this season, our 2 drivers have done a good job. But I don't think we can afford to keep these 2 next year. I think it's... Is it Dreyfus that's got... Yeah, Dreyfus's marketability. She's a better driver, but she's not done really that much better than Voku this season. Factory staff idle. Okay, well, you should be working on other reliability stuff then, guys. Use your initiative. Come on. We'll go to engine and gearbox, then get them up to 100%. So scouting report finished on Simeone Santre. Okay. She's currently a reserve driver for Vexala. 122,000 per race. 15 months left on her contract, so possibly next year. Again, pretty low marketability though. And she wants to earn over 250,000, I presume, per race. She's a good driver with a lot of potential, but there's not really much incentive for me there as a reserve. How many have we got in the queue? Quite a few. Okay, they should keep going then. Okay, we're about ready then for the race in Doha, essentially Bahrain. One more scouting report back. Eleni Sonilin. No. She's a reserve driver at Magnar Engineering. Costs a fortune. Pretty good driver. Very low marketability and not much else there. In terms, we're looking for a reserve here, remember, someone who we can train up that should bring a little bit of money in as well. So we will go 12 or above because, you know, we're not going to get 8 or above as much as we'd like to. Parts on the car should be the same as last time. Yep. Okay, I shall get qualifying done. I shall get practice done and be back with you for qualifying. Okay, both drivers are out for qualifying then. Pretty mixed session. Vosu got 99% on the setup, the highest I've got for a long time, especially in GT. Dreyfus 95%, not so good, but both drivers can surely work with that, and I think we know where we're going to be in qualifying anyway. But we managed to reach level 2 for both soft tyres and race trim, so that'll help us out, I'm sure, a little bit for qualifying and for the race. Just speeding it up a bit. It's a little bit... well, we know what to expect really at this point, don't we? We're going to be hopefully not last, but pretty much last. Somewhere between sort of 15th and 20th is most likely. We've not really put any upgrades on the car. Just reliability improvements for this race. All parts were maxed out performance wise, so yeah. Unless this track really suits our drivers and our car, then I think we know where we'll be. So Vosu crosses first, a 42.4. Dreyfus does a 42.1. So surprisingly, the driver with a 95% setup is quite a lot quicker than the driver with a 99% setup. But then again, Dreyfus has the slightly better car, and she is the better driver. So shouldn't be too surprised. But what isn't a surprise also is that we're last. Again, Dreyfus is just off the back of those cars in front. Maledo actually going behind us. Farah splitting our two drivers. So we're 17th and 19th after the first runs. Hopefully we can see some improvement. We're going to have to send them out straight away because it's a very long lap round here and there's quite a bit of turnaround time. So hopefully they can get back out for a second run. It's going to be tight. As long as they're not too slow on the outlap, we should be okay. We were the first drivers out on the track, so we're probably the only two that will get round to do a second run, which might benefit us because obviously the track is gripping up. And I would say for both drivers you would think, but definitely for Dreyfus, 13th is definitely in sight. So those last 4 teams are what we can be competitive with on raw pace. Those top 6 teams are a little bit too far away. But both our drivers have started then on their second flying laps. Vosu will come through the first sector now, 1.3 down. Dreyfus just 1 second down. So Dreyfus going better at the moment. And she is actually catching Vosu visibly. Through the second sector, 2.2 for Vosu, 1.9 for Dreyfus. So It's going to be close as to whether this is going to be an improvement. Let's just slow it down as Vossi crosses the line. Doesn't improve, it's a 142.4. Dreyfus takes another 10th off to move up to 15th. And she found it when it mattered there. Just a couple of attempts away from that 13th place, which is best of the rest, I think we can probably judge it as. Vossi didn't do enough to even improve, unfortunately. But it's all going to be about the race, we know that. And hopefully we can get some good strategy calls to get us up the field. What also helps is our reliability is very strong, so we should be able to push pretty hard throughout the race and not have to worry about the parts. So we'll go aggressive from the off. So we'll go soft tyres and race trim for Vossi. And we will... I'm going to go soft tyres and race trim for Dreyfus as well. The engine expert, I'm not really too bothered about that because our engine's almost 90%, I think. So yeah, I'm definitely not worried about that. We'll start both drivers on... Will we? I think as Vossi seems to be struggling a little bit, we will start him on the medium tyres. Just see if we can go a bit further into the race. We will go attack and overtake for both cars for the first lap or two. Probably just the first lap and then go back to push. We can't afford to stay on overtake in terms of fuel for too long either. Being that we cannot refuel during the race. Right, we're underway then in Doku. And it's a pretty average start from both drivers. Dreyfus going down the inside of that train now, as is Vossi. Both our drivers, the only two of the AI that decided to take inside lines for some reason. But hey, I'll take it. So Dreyfus has found a way up into 11th place then, and is hassling those two ahead. So hopefully no stupid AI things happen and our two drivers can stay here. Vossi has made his way to 12th on the medium tyres as well. We're going to go back to high fuel mode, and we will go back to push for Dreyfus and for Vossi, just because the tyres are starting to get a little bit warm now. We will save the charge up, there's no need to use it just yet. We'll use that a little later on in the race. Vossi's starting to get eaten back up by those soft tyre runners now. He's dropped back to 15th, but it's been a good start for him nevertheless. We're going to go back to neutral because the tyres really are getting hot. We're going to go to medium fuel as well, because we need to save it for later on in the race. And yeah, it's 24 degrees out there. Looks like it's going to get a little bit hotter, so it's going to be very tricky to keep these tyres under control here. I think we're going to go to conserve. Just try and get those temperatures down. Everybody back at neutral, so we're the only people on conserve, so that will help us. There's a car off in Chanham, but there's going to be no safety car. Vossi back in 17th now, and running with those three medium tyre runners of Parker and Malado. So that's about where I'd expect him to be. Very few cars started on the medium, so that could come to Vossi later in the race, as long as he can make them last in this first stint. Dreyfus is lapping well with these guys. She has just got back to 15th though. We are on conserve, and I'm just wondering today, what are we looking at? 10 to 12, 14, 16, so a maximum of 28. So it should be a one-stop race. But I'd like to go as deep into this race as I can on these sets of tyres for these two drivers. Just so that we have as fresh tyres as possible in the final stint. So I don't mind our two drivers going backwards a little bit at the moment, because we are asking them to conserve, and nobody else in the field is doing that. So we should be able to get a little bit more distance out of the tyres. I might go to neutral for Vossi because he's actually losing too much temperature at the moment. The medium tyres seem the perfect race tyre to be on today. So it's going to be difficult for Vossi to come back on those softs. But if he can go as deep into the race as possible, then he doesn't have to look after the soft tyres quite as much. So Dreyfus is holding on for the moment. We're going to speed things up a little bit. As we come onto that straight, we're going to use our charge for both drivers. Good a time as any, I think. There's no real chance of us overtaking anybody at the moment. If we pushed a bit more with Dreyfus, we probably could, but I'm happy if she trails around behind these guys and pits a bit later. And you can see actually from her tyre wear, she's at the upper end. Some people are doing better than others. We definitely got better tyre wear than quite a few drivers, so that's doing good. And you can see with Vosu, he's got infinitely more life than Parker and Malado. So tactics working at the moment. Dreyfus is dropping off from these guys ahead as well, and Vosu is as well. It's a little bit of a worry. Right, some cars ahead starting to conserve as well. I wonder if we go back to neutral now. Whilst they're conserving, it might sort of close us back up. So keep an eye on that tyre temperature and hope it doesn't go too high too quickly. Dreyfus starting to pressure Farron out and trying to go around the outside in that right-hander. Doesn't quite manage it. And Farrah's in. Farrah is in. That's very early. And he's going to struggle to do a one-stop from there. I think I might go back to conserve for both drivers. Because this is getting... I should use both the boosts as well, just why not? This is getting interesting. I wonder if we can squeeze a one-stop out of this. Certainly those guys that are pitting now might struggle to get to the end. Though to be fair, Vosu has just dropped below 50%. And he's already done 10 laps. So that would suggest 20 laps range, but you're going to be on the carcass right at the end. So we need to go as long as we can. And that includes with Dreyfus. The longer she can go, the more chance she's got of doing that one stop. There's a lot of people that put soft tyres back on, so they're definitely not doing one stops. We're getting eaten back up by this field now. But if we're only doing a one stop and everybody does us two, the guys we're around is kind of our track position. So I don't mind going a little bit further. Dreyfus is definitely the last driver on those soft tyres anyway. I think we will come in this time around for the mediums. Everything on the kart looking fine at the moment. Try and put a little bit of charge in. And she'll come in this time around. Now, tyre rule isn't active. I don't even know if it is a thing in this game. You have to use both compounds of tyres, but we don't have to, bear in mind. So for Vosu, we could well just put another set of mediums on, and we would be okay until the end, as Dreyfus comes in now for her stop. There's a small mistake on the recharge, well, a big mistake on the recharging, because we now don't have any. How often that happens, I don't think we should even put 25% in future, to be honest. It never works out. It never works out. We're losing a little bit of temperature with Vosu. I'd expect the same thing to probably happen with Dreyfus, so we'll go back to neutral. We're going to use Vosu's charge now. That was probably the worst time to use it, because he's literally at a hairpin. But we will use it. So how far do we go with him? I know I can put another set of mediums on. So this is about the halfway point now. So, and of course with heavier fuel you're going to get more tyre wear. I think I'm going to get him to do one more time around. So he'll pit this time for another set of mediums. I'm not going to bother with charge for him. Let's try and keep his ERS and everything on the car looking good as expected. Right, so both our drivers are going to end up down the back of the grid. Dreyfus has caught the back of the field. She's only a second off Milado. And I think a lot of these drivers are going to have to make second stops. So it's going to be all about keeping the tyres in check until the end of the race. And the race will come back to us, and then we'll have to do some defending towards the end. So we'll let these two just settle down into their rhythm. And let themselves get a little bit of fuel to play with for when everybody inevitably does make a second stop. Cars that might get away with it. Only one that I can see, Parker, in 15th, has got a lot of tyre life. Everybody else is already down to 50%, and I don't know. Well, I'm pretty certain they're not going to do 12 laps between now and the end of the race on half a set of tyres, essentially. So just keep the tyres in it, and we can do this. We're in range of that 13th place, which I would say 13th, 14th is the target. That's definitely where the divide is happening. It also happens to be where our sponsor objective is. I'm sure that's got nothing to do with it, but you can see that 7-second gap between Olin and Kinney, and that's just the gap. A huge gap in pace between the top 6 teams and the bottom 4 teams that we are situated in. So it's all about when people are going to make their second stop. So I'd kind of prefer them to take it earlier, so that we have a chance of keeping them behind and wearing out their tyres before the end of the race. If they're smart, they'll do it with sort of 6-7 laps left. So within the next, I would say the window's open now for any of them making a second stop. So I do wonder if some of those medium tyres can make it to the end. But definitely all the guys on the softs are going to have to pit again. And in fact, here they come. So Verkusi comes in from second place. And rejoins the race in 4th. Couple of other guys in, Fernley and Lee. Don't know if we're going to pass them. We do. Right, so we're up to 16th and 17th. So we've passed Farah and Milado, but they've come out right behind us. So there's a lot of defending to do from Vosu now. We should pick up a couple of more positions from people pitting. I'm just going to use Vosu's. That was the stupidest place to use it, but we should get some of it back down the straight, and does do. This gives him a bit of a breather. And as those two are squabbling between themselves, it's a good time to get a little bit ahead. Tyres are overheating again. Dreyfus has got a little bit of room in front of him. Vosu, come on, buddy, fight. He's lost it. He's down to 18th. Right, a few more cars coming into the pits now. Dreyfus is going to get past one of them, Minzy, and Vosu gets past as well. Dreyfus is 3 seconds ahead of Farah now. Vosu is about to lose that position as well. Try and use the charge to get back. No, he hasn't got the pace at all. If he hasn't got the pace on the medium time, I'm going to go back to conserve for him as well, because they're overheating again. If he hasn't got the pace to hold these guys up, Dreyfus on 34% of tyres is definitely not. So there's still a few cars that haven't made a stop though. Only one that's in range though, and that's Parker. So that should be another position. But I think the one stop was a bit ambitious, as Dreyfus goes up to 14th as Parker does pit. Vosu gets that position, but is only 0.4 of a second ahead of Parker, and he's likely to lose that, as Parker has already got past actually on the soft tyres. happened almost immediately. Dreyfus has got 4 laps to do, or 3.5. 3 laps now. On these tyres that are already giving up. She's lost 15th. She's fighting so hard though. It's a shame we don't have that ERS to play with. But we don't. Vosu, we can possibly use it. I think we know where this is going. Dreyfus is losing position after position, and she's going to end up in 18th. And the one stop, unfortunately, has not worked. And I think we were just a little bit too aggressive today. I don't know that we would have been able to fight anybody on the 2-stop, but I think we might have had a better chance if we'd gone aggressive from the beginning. We've been gearing up the whole race for this 1-stop, and it just meant that we were too slow at the beginning, and we weren't able to go with the guys we should have been fighting. And if we had have done and we're on the 2-stop, we would have stood much more of a chance. Dreyfus is going to completely run out of tyres. We maybe should have pitted her a lap early and see if she could have gone for fastest lap for a bonus point, but anyway, bit late for that now. I'm sure she will fight Vosu to the finish though. And yeah, quite a few mistakes made during that race. We'll see if Dreyfus can hold off her teammate. This is a matter of pride between the two drivers. Dreyfus doing an incredible job on practically the carcass as she comes around the final corner and does beat home her teammate to finish 18th. But that's as close to a disaster of a race as you can ever see. We tried that 1-stop strategy, we really did, but it just wasn't good enough today. We were too slow at the beginning, basically, and I think our lap times would probably show it. And we weren't too far off the back of the field, but we certainly weren't able to fight anybody. And I think that was the difference today. We finished 3 seconds off the back of the field. And the gap between Parker and Kinney in particular, a big one. I think we could have fought for that 5th, 14th, 15th place today, but we picked the wrong strategy. It's 5 points to the total, means that Dreyfus stays 11th, Vosu drops to 12th, both of them on 73 points. We stay 7th, but we've lost ground to those ahead, and Orleans and Vittori Corsa have caught us up a little, and it means we've now got 20 points back to Vittori and just 12 points back to Orleans now. Means that the last 2 races are going to be a fight to keep hold of that 7th place. I'm confident we can do it. I think we could have been competitive with the cars ahead of us in that race, but we just made the wrong strategy call basically. Trying to be a bit too clever to do the 1-stop. When you're down the back of the field, sometimes you don't have much to lose by doing it. I think, yeah, massive hit to our balance. We're going to be in the red for the rest of the season, basically. But I think in that situation, I should have just gone with the 1-stop on one car, split the strategies, and then if it works out, you get one driver quids in, but if it doesn't, you've still got the other one on the normal strategy. I think Vosu we should have tried on the 1-stop there, and Dreyfus we should have gone aggressive on the 2, but hindsight is a wonderful thing. But I'm just quite surprised, both of them on completely equal points, which is quite nice. And it makes you wonder how we can only be 7th when, I guess 11th, 12th, yeah, 7th would be 13th, 14th. And you can see Orleans driver Pernette there has outscored us. Yeah, okay, it makes sense. I am surprised how close our 2 drivers are though. I don't think there's 2 other teams on the grid that have their drivers as close as we do. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed that episode. Let me know if you think we're going to be able to hold on to 7th. And let me know, do you think the correct thing to do is to let Dreyfus go at the end of the season? Because she's costing us, let's have a look quickly, shall we? She's costing us 402,000 per race. Her contract is up at the end of the year, and her marketability is pretty low. So I think she would be a good driver to get rid of. Save a bit of money if we can get someone in a sort of Vossu's level. If you consider the difference in racing between the two drivers, Dreyfus really hasn't pulled her weight this year. And if we can get a driver that's going to score the same amount of points like Vossu, that's going to contribute towards each race as a paid driver and cost half as much, that's going to help us out a bit. Just give us that little bit of extra wiggle room. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Had a few days break on the channel. Should be back up to normal with daily videos now. Going to be trying to get ahead with this series, not just yet. I'll let you know. There will be a point where I will record a bunch because F1 2017 is coming up, and I'm going to be going ham on that. There will be a career mode. This isn't really the place to announce it, but there will be a career mode, a co-op with Rage, and plenty of multiplayer stuff with the cool classics as well. So that'll all be coming up, but I'll let you know well in advance on this series, because it will mean that it will take a little while. You know, they'll be batch recorded, so I won't be able to take feedback immediately between each race. It'll be every couple of races, but you probably didn't want to know that. If you're still listening at this point, thank you. I appreciate it. I really enjoy making these videos, and I like that you enjoy watching them, some of you. So as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.